No, because we didn't do 3 years for time.
We don't want to. It's long. That's what I'm. That's something sides in there.
Well, I'm wondering.
It makes it feel better. It's just audio, not video. Right. Thank you. Yeah. And the county just before, and they shut off. They know. Really. Feels a little tricky. Guys do. You need to. I probably do.
It's right. The patients are always so that we have some space. Trying to.
Stop trying to doubt that answer is. He's got a lot of volcanoes, so you have to say this part of the life. So it's. I need to be here. Yep. That was. Yes. Except for the last. Most. We're. No, I just watched the one that's. Yeah. We need to get competitive. It's some stuff. It counts. So I think that's something to that. Let's be realistic. I have some. It's the kind of work. If you actually get it, I'll define to. Let's see. See, just
I know, I know.
So.
$47 degrees of like. It is.
And if you're in the States, we can say that.
You want to sit in a jury box, you can, because we think we're gonna run out of seats.
There you go.
Look like chairs.
You can sit in a jury box if you want. Fair enough.
Oh, man. Stay there. Oh. Not bad.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's cold. I'm told he's other. Something I believe it's I'm not enough. What's the use of it?
You're right, or tell me that building. That's not sweet. Better than this morning.
It's the more fair saying. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can put the jury box too.
Yeah.
Been there, done.
You and I get to define everything.
Yeah. Deny that.
That's working.
All right, welcome today. We're here talking about type 1 zoning for the Mount Antelope. I'm joined by Ty and Lonnie up here at the front. Thanks everybody for coming. When we do start speaking, if you wouldn't mind giving us your name, where you're from. We would like everybody to stay respectful, try not to talk over each other. And it's public comment as opposed to debate. So if you want to get back up 2 or 3 times and say something, that's great. But we're gonna ask you to try not to debate while somebody else is giving their opinion. Yeah, the sad news today, or unfortunate news, it's not a voting meeting. So the clerk and court has a certified percentage of signed petitions, and that's not complete. The intent was to vote today, and we're unable to do that. So we don't have a date on when that's going to be done. At this point, unless I get an email, that's why I keep checking my phone. If I get an email during the meeting, the intent or the plan right now is to schedule a meeting next Monday, and hopefully that's when we vote. But we have to have the percentage certified to do that. So at this point, we can gather everybody's public comments. We'll add that to the draft resolutions that we have. And like I said, hopefully then next Monday is the voting meeting. To start, I would like to ask the type 1, the folks that started this process, to have somebody speak from their point of view on the type 1.
Mr. Chair, Gina Masser, Circle, Montana. We, the citizens of Macomb County, and more specifically, the Macomb County Antelope Park Zone, are concerned about our health, safety, and well-being of our community, as well as the historical use of our lands, preservation for our children and our grandchildren. We are multi-generational caretakers of this land. Our goal is not to stop anybody that has a lease in Xterra from using their land as they choose. But rather, our goal is to implement some common sense, good neighbor practices, to put parameters on any big industry that wants to come to our community to protect the neighbors that do not have a lease. We are all proponents of individual property rights. However, when you have several people with leases, it is no longer an individual decision. It is an invasion by a large company into our previously held agricultural lands. And that affects all of us. We, as constituents of Macomb County, have put together a petition to protect our lands. There's nothing onerous in this petition. It's simply setbacks from our neighbors' properties, from their homes and water sources. Just as any good neighbor would do out of respect for their neighbors. We've also added some height restrictions. Again, out of respect for our neighbors. It's what any good neighbor would do. We followed the legal processes using Montana code and presented our petition to our commissioners. Now, I know we have Mr. Ross Feehand here today. He's a representative for Xterra, and I see he brought some associates with him. And no doubt he's going to have something he wants to say. So I'd like to commend Mr. Feehand. He's very good at his job. I've personally seen him in action. He's a very articulate young man. And he will get up and he'll do his level best to do his job. So he's going to get up and he's going to spew some talking points that benefit the company he works for. And possibly some of the people he brought with him will want to do the same thing. Well, it might sound good. It might scare some of you. It might impress some of you. And it might even make some of you mad. But that's okay, because it's his job. And he's good at it. But here's the thing. It is his job. And nothing here in this community will matter to him or his associates after their job here is done. These people are not constituents of this community. But it will matter to us, the people that live here, the constituents of this county. And it will matter to our children, and it will matter to their children. So where Mr. Feehand and associates have a job, we have a duty, an obligation to make sure the traditional use of our lands and our livelihoods are maintained. And we have a right by law to petition our commissioners to put this zone in place. This is a simple act of legislation for which we should never be afraid of to do in a free country. Our commissioners likewise should make their decision based on the legal request of your constituents and not out of fear of what some big company might do. I would like to restate, we have gone through the process in a legal and honorable fashion, following Montana code, and I would strongly suggest and request from our commissioners that you listen to your constituents and pass our Macomb County Mount Antelope ordinance.
Welcome to the.
Yeah, it's comfortable chairs though.
Yeah, really, it's really nice here.
Really nice. I may. I guess you're next. Feel like I would see you text. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Thank you very much for your kind words. Cash news, testing as well. For the record, my name is Ross Eden. I work for NextEra Energy Resources, as was mentioned. I do appreciate your time today. I'm just going to keep my comments real short here and cut to the chase, which is I just have a few questions for you as commissioners as you contemplate this decision. And the first question I have for you is, have you considered what is at stake here? All right, you as a commission need to know that to pass this district is to ban wind development. As simple as that, right? Pass this district is also to pass government regulations that will undermine the economic prosperity of this county for generations to come. And that will be done in violation of the county's growth policy. Now, when it comes to the wind piece, all right, I don't think it's any secret here that this district was created out of concern for wind development. That concern is understandable, but the proposed regulations would eliminate this project, this Glendive project, from this county. More than that, these regulations would jeopardize the entire project. All of it. Hundreds of construction jobs, right? Dozens of full-time, long-term, good-paying operations jobs. The local spending in cities and towns like Circle, in counties like Macomb, that those jobs bring, which is estimated to be over $30 million for Macomb County. That's spending for your local business. All right, to say nothing of the property tax revenue or the impact fees. That alone is estimated to be over $24 million for this county. You as a commission know better than I do what that could be used for, right? For EMS, for doubling the bridge budget, doubling the library budget, more schools, for repairing buildings, building new buildings, whatever it may be. All of that is at stake. Realize as a commission that this is not a single small district in your county. To pass this district would have economic reverberations throughout the entire county. That's the reality of it. My second question for you is, have you considered the unintended consequences of these proposed regulations? Okay, again, it is proposed targeting wind. We all know that. But it could have many unintended consequences, right? What other doors would you shut if you pass this district? These regulations. Telecom, broadband, gas, pipelines, transmission. Have you studied these regulations and their effects? People like to talk about other forms of energy development. Nuclear, we as a company do a lot of nuclear, even small reactors. These regulations would prohibit a small reactor here in Macomb. What other investments in your county are you saying no to if you pass this district? My third question for you, have you considered why your neighboring counties have denied this type of district? All right, we all know in two of your neighboring counties, copycat proposals have been proposed. Last year, those proposals were denied. Why is that the case? Because this is not the way to do things. Commissioners, you have a handful of families, of constituents, of landowners in this proposed district who want no part of it, do not want to be part of it. to pass these regulations, these specific regulations would blacktop over their private property rights. That's the reality of it. You would strip away economic opportunity from those families for generations. That may not have been intended, but that is the reality of it. My last question for you, have you considered your alternatives? While this vote may be about this single district, realities, you have options. You want to protect this county? You want to protect non-participating neighboring landowners? Great. They do need to be protected. Absolutely. This swings too far. Okay. There are other ways to do this. We can work through this sensibly. All right, we can work through this sensibly. We can listen to the health and safety experts. We can put together what's called a development agreement, which is legally binding, which is enforceable, which would zone, in effect, the project, but not zone everyone else. With that, I would just like to say thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. I do have here for public record of a handful of letters of support. If I can submit that to the commission. Thank you.
These might, I'm gonna read the ones I've got at the end.
Okay,
So some of these might already be there,
okay.
but if not, I can. So some of these ones. Yeah, we're next.
Yes, I can do next.
You're next.
My name's Frank Gray, I'm at the circle here, actually. I'm not in the zone, in this zone with the property, but I've been involved with these folks probably almost for a year and a half, 2 years, looking into the, so I don't really want to get into a lot of the final things that we can talk about, you know, what the wind towers, the shredding and all that. I mean, we've already gone over that. But first, I want to thank the people that are putting this zone together, and I want to thank you commissioners. I know you're probably getting tired of seeing us every week, but you know, Ross, you told me at a meeting that I was passionate about this. Remember that? And I am. I'm passionate about our land, our properties, and I'm passionate about my neighbors, friends. I have 2 classmates in here that we're getting kind of old. Three classmates. Sorry, Sean. But you know, I just want to thank these folks for putting all this together, and they did it using facts. And a lot of research, a ton of research. And we've had some help from different counties helping us with this. And I guess I'm really in support of this zone. And I guess if you have any questions, I have a lot of information on different taxes, the taxes that are involved. And how much NextEra pays. Although in 2025, there is no NextEra in Montana, it's all under Clearwater. Which is kind of, I haven't figured out exactly why that is. But we've been involved in a long time, and when they first came, the very first thing that they asked for is a tax abatement, the county. And then they come and decommissioning agreements and road agreements. And it seems to me that they should have done some of this before they went and got leases. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, if I was to do a project, I would come to the commissioners, or if it's in the city, I would go to the city council and say, well, what do we need to do here? And now that they've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, basically, you know, now they're trying to tell us how much money the county will get. We have some proof that that might not be as much as they said. Appreciate it.
Is this action or are you going to jury box? or you got squeezed with something.
Chairman, Commissioner members, my name is David Caston. I'm a landowner in the area. My land is not under the zoning thing. I do support it. If my land would have been under it, I would be supporting it and signing it. I just want to comment a little bit about his first talk about the environmental or the money making that's going to come to the county. Let's go back a few years. What started this thing? We started it with intergovernmental panels on climate change, talk about global warming, so forth. We talked about Al Gore and all of this, and what started and put this thing in place. And just recently, with President Trump's pulling back $1.3 trillion worth of regulations that this green new energy, which brought the windmills to life. Okay, let's think about that for a little while. We went on, and that was in 01. That was the first year I went to Helena. I've been a member of the Heartland Institute and so forth, different people, and I've been keeping in touch with this. And in 2007, we had another group. The first group in 01, the Al Gore and all of them people, they used government. All of the governments come in with their proposals of what they wanted to do. Then in 2007, we put an independent, the Heartland Institute, which I belong to, we put in another study. And they came up and said that nature, not human activity, rules climate. Okay? Common sense. Think about common sense a little bit. And that's where we're at now. We had a big farce with the Al Gore, all of that thing. It's come around to bite us. We're paying for it. These windmills are just a continuation of it. I would do anything I could to stop it. Hey, I've got grandkids and great grandkids. I love this area. I live here. I plan on my kids being here. Next area, they won't be a company in another year or so. They're in here selling it to us people. And thank you for your time. And that's one thing I want to do is, hey, I've sat on boards, listened to this stuff for many years. Like I say, since 2001, I've been working with this stuff. But some of it started right here in Circle. If you guys remember the Northern Plains Resource Council and the People for Economic Progress, I was the president of the People for Economic Progress. We were the ones that were trying to do something with coal at that time that we have. And it is good energy. Look what they're using right now. Look what we need now. We're going back to some coal. I'm talking about common sense. Thank you, fellas.
Start going person by person, but I hope everybody volunteers to speak up. Or do you want me to read the comments if it's submitted? Gonna do that at some point if nobody else wants to speak.
No.
No. Too late, Greg. Mary said up first. Oh,
Louis?
okay.
Okay, my name's Greg Berger. I live in Prairie County. Ross, I couldn't fully hear you when you mentioned that Prairie County shot down our zoning proposal. I can tell you why. Because we had a damn tyrant as the chair of our commission.
Greg, we're here about, like, we're trying not to do personal attacks.
I'm not getting personal. I'm stating facts. That's been noted by more than just one other commissioner.
Right,
But anyway, this wind development, a lot of people don't realize it starts out from day one with taxpayer subsidies money. That starts from day one until the very last day of decommissioning. They're subsidized by taxpayers' money. That is your money to begin with. They come in here and say, we're projected to give you this much money. It's all projections, folks. Nothing is fact. You can go to any county that these are sitting in, and the promises that were made verbally, none of them have come true. Not one of them. So if you're sitting here thinking Macone's gonna lose all these millions of dollars, you're not even gonna have that millions to lose. Same as Prairie County. We saw it in black and white, and hopefully you all see it in black and white. That's all I got.
You can speak from there, Mary, if you want, as long as we can hear you. Okay, fair enough.
Loud enough, I can hear you.
Yeah,
That's a question.
sure.
Yeah, we-
Well, she's gonna ask a question, so I'll go ahead and echo her question.
I think my first question was answered. This is type one.
The question is this a type one zoning? The answer is yes.
Is this going to affect the type two zoning that the planning board?
The question is, this type one impact the type two that the zoning board's doing? Completely separate issues. Sorry.
Is township 19 north range 46 east or adjacent land to be included in this district? Is township 19 north range 46 east or adjacent land to be included in this district? I've stopped by to see if you guys have proposed
Yeah.
map showing it.
Yeah, the maps. Sorry, I should have said that. Another copy's on the far wall.
You have any extra for handouts?
We don't. No, yeah, it's the way the type one is written, the county's not supposed to spend any money until it's accepted or denied. So that's why we didn't make a whole ton of copies and everything else. But I mean, it's up there if you want to use your phone. Unfortunately, and that's why we didn't put it online, because we don't have a good way of putting that online. Sorry, next question. Okay, she just specified her land is not in the type.
Is there any time to expand in this district?
Okay, so the question is about expanding this, that with type one, their map is their map. So once they set their map and their boundaries, that's it. Like and I'll answer your question in a second. So they came in and they said, here you go, and then pulled all the pieces. So that's where that came from. So, I mean, like if your land is not in there and you touch theirs, then you could do type one. If you have 40 acres, then you could type one and do type one on your own, whether you're next to it or not. But no, it's not an option to expand out their type one.
Adjacent neighbors want to expand it, are they gonna force us to?
So the question is about expanding type one. Anybody with 40 acres can do type one zoning. Some counties have like 20, 30 different type one zones wherever. So any landowner, if you own 40 acres, you can do your very own type one. If you and your neighbor at least each have 40 acres, then you could do your own type one. So if 40 acres is a sticking point, and then what we're not sure of, like a lot of folks around here, their land, like you have like 5 pieces of land under the touches. So if you want to come in and do type one on your land, what we don't know is if you have to do 5 different type ones, or because the way it reads, everything has to touch and you can't corner it. If that makes sense. Everything has to be side to side, top to bottom, however you want to look at it. So squares and rectangles and can't just be corners.
So then you can't zone state.
No, state and federal, tribal, none of those lands, no matter where they sit, no county zoning would impact it.
And so, the process next, if you,
For this type one zoning?
Yeah.
Ideally, what we want to do is vote on it. We have 2 draft resolutions, which are less complete than they were earlier, which we're going to read at the end. One's a resolution by the Macomb County Commission, creating the Macomb Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District. The other one is resolution by the Macomb County Commission denying the creation of the Macomb Mount Antelope Planning and Zoning District. So once we have the clerk recorder has certified that enough landowners that enough signed petitions by the landowners and it's 60% is the cutoff. So once that, then the commissioners vote to either accept or deny.
I guess part of the process that we're going to vote to proceed or the planning and zoning commission.
There will be a planning and zoning commission that they've given us names for it, but we have to, like, they can't form a planning commission until it's actually in effect. So we have to vote. Obviously, we deny, then they don't have to. We will go to accept it. Then they've got names put forward that will be, yes. The type 1 is going to have their own stamp on it.
First, let's go down. What is a park district? What's the definition of park?
We didn't look at the definition of a park. This is type 1 zoning, and they,
Type 1 zoning district.
right, and that's what they've called it. It's a name. There's nothing in type 1 that says you have to define anything. And yeah, and their folks don't realize that there's a lot of work that comes with it, a lot of things that have to be agreed. It's just that to start, they came forward and they said, we want to create the Macomb Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District. So we don't have any judgment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Prairie County called it, but that's their name. They chose that as their name.
Just go ahead and we'll see. So who's going to administrate the zoning regulation?
Who's going to administrate the zoning regulations?
If it's adopted and passed.
And what part of administration are you talking about? Their board is gonna serve as a board. The type 1, yes, the type 1 folks are going to administer their type 1. Yep, that's
Structure.
they're agreed. All the requirements, rules, regulations. That's good. That's why I'm saying that they've got, I don't know, 5, 7 members that have set forward and said, if this passes, we're willing to serve on that board. And yeah, that board is going to have a lot of work because they're going to have something for if somebody asks for an exemption. Yeah, all of those little details, they're gonna be very busy developing it. I agree.
And then who's going to pay for
Their time and travel. Well,
it? Is it?
we
the
don't,
county?
unfortunately, we don't pay boards
Is
to
it the county
extend.
taxpayer? Because this is
well,
going to be a county.
Right, all their work hours are uncompensated. It's the same thing like the fairgrounds board. We don't pay for their time. So their time it's all volunteer time.
Every zoning thing that I've worked with in the past, it has been for many years, I will admit that. They all have a county budget. So that'd be county taxpayers' money.
Well, so if they come forward and say, we need mileage for our 5 members that live within 10 miles, then the commissioners could consider paying them mileage to attend their meetings. But
if they have to hire somebody to go out permits, if they will have to go out and issue permits, study the application and everything like that.
right, and until they come up with their rules, and regulations, and their policies, procedures, we won't know how they don't do that. But there's nothing saying that they themselves cannot issue the permits. They can't go check the permits.
Right, they can.
They can.
So then if there's gonna have to be money raised to administrate this, then is it just the people in that district that you're gonna tax, or you're gonna tax the whole county?
If, so with this type one, if we vote for it and accept it, then it is part of the county. So then, yes, every taxpayer in the county, if there's costs that are associated with it, then they will contribute their portion for it.
But there's people in the county that don't want, that aren't taxed, that aren't in that district, or can you just confine that?
Now,
The
once,
taxpayers' money,
no, the question is about who pays and we can't, once we vote, if we accept that type one in, then it's part of the county. So
why
they
don't
get,
you just tax the people that are in that district to run their own tax?
okay, we consulted with our county attorney. Our county attorney said we cannot, because it's not it's not like a tax increment district, something like that. It's gonna be accepted by the county, and it's another line item in the county budget. So we cannot just go to them and just tax them individually. Right, it spreads out the expense. It's the same thing. Somebody brought up, I don't use county roads, but I'm paying tax dollars for county roads. I mean, the folks that live at Conroy Care, they don't use the county roads very often, but we're still taking tax dollars. So it's just the way the process
Just-
goes.
I guess I kind of have a problem. How, are you going to adopt countywide zoning first, or this comes second? Or the countywide zoning?
At this point, the question is type one versus type two. At this point, type one came to us in November. Been working on this since November. And they've followed the process, they've done everything they can do, and now it's on the county to count and either voted in or voted or deny it. So we also have, at the same time, type two is also in development. But that's countywide, it's more encompassing. If you look at, and I don't have a copy of what the type two is right now, but I know it includes condominiums. Type one has nothing to do with condominiums. But type two is all encompassing. They're from condominiums through whatever. And it's a lot more complex, a lot more areas. This type one is just for those folks in that area.
I guess it's going back to say we don't want.
Right, and type one, I've used the term, that's the wrong way to put it. It's citizen initiated, it's not self-inflicted. So I apologize for those that have said self-inflicted before. That was not my intention, but it's citizen initiated. So, if you're in that area, those citizens in that area, and currently at this point, you are not. Now, if your neighbors get together and say they want to do type one, then you could, but looking into the future, we don't know who's going to do what. Zoning type one. So
there's other parts of the county that are in the NRC that are good for wind energy. I'm not gonna say wind farms, wind energy.
right, probably 5-10 years ago,
Those people, they're voting for the company that wants to give them,
we've never seen a contract. Anybody's been approached. We don't personally have a contract. I mean, anybody at any time can go forward to anyone and speak about something. Same thing with type one. We literally, if we have 3,000 landowners, we could have 3,000 type one zones in Macomb County if people wanted to do it. So if somebody else wants to come do type one, you need 40 acres and then you can do your own type one zone. And the folks here in this type one, I'm sure will help because You know, they've been through it, and like I said, it's been since November. There, some of the, at least one person in that group has been here every Monday, or while we've been in here since, and they're very experienced. So, I mean, we could try and walk you through it, but they're the experts on what they went through to get to them. Because they had to contact landowners, they had to find out who the landowners were. I mean, it is a whole process.
So then. They call, are they gonna come? Most likely. People gonna approach you for a zoning district? Are you
So the questions about coal. So you mean if coal wants to come develop someplace? Okay, if coal wants to come start digging coal, we have nothing that says you can't come dig coal. There's, this type 1 does not address coal.
No, but if people in that district want to.
Oh, so if they go to an area, okay, so if coal comes in and say the folks in this type 1, just as an example, coal comes to them and says, I want to dig coal on your place. Their type 1 does not address coal. But that's not something like if you don't want coal on your place, you can start your type 1 and your type 1 can be, I don't want coal. Or anyone, if you have 40 acres and you want to do type 1 zoning, then you can do type 1 zoning on your place that says, yes, I want coal, or no, I don't want coal. Yes, I want nuclear, or no, I don't want nuclear. Or, I mean, whatever it is you decide, and you just need 40 acres to start, and then as many pieces of land as you want to connect together, you just go out and you start connecting, as long as somebody's got 40 acres. I don't know how it deals for 20 acres, but I know it's 40 acres is the minimum. So if you've got 40 acres and you want to piece either your land together or somebody else's, or if you want to do yours independently, that's all an option for doing type 1 zoning.
I guess the point was. The countywide zoning we're doing. That can be coming up in the future.
Yes,
So why don't you just the countywide zoning instead of having to react to every time something.
So why don't we just do countywide zoning? Countywide zoning takes longer for one. Theoretically, we should have voted on this in December. Something like that. Type 2 takes longer and it is more encompassing. And that was, this type 1 was, the choice was, we don't want to address condominiums. We don't want to address coal. You don't have to. But if you're going to do countywide zoning on everything, then you're going to have to, and I don't know. You have to talk to the folks that work. I know there's condominiums, but maybe there's coal, maybe there's nuclear. There could be any number, and it's not saying you can't add some.
And two, are you gonna make public any ex parte contact you've had with individuals?
Are we gonna make known any ex parte contact? So what contact with who, I guess is the question.
Say you get, you know, 2 or more of your meeting is officially a county commissioner meeting. Well, if you're out having a drink and you're both in there, I'm not saying you got to, but if somebody comes up and starts talking to you about things.
Yeah, so the question is that 2 commissioners are in one place at one time. Technically, that is a meeting, because that's a quorum. Now, what we can't do is we can't make decisions. Because, I mean, around here, we see each other on boards. Lonnie and I went to the Mako meeting that was in Billings. We were there from Monday through whatever. So technically, 2 commissioners should not ride in the same vehicle. Right, but the problem is, and you know, we've talked to lawyers, the problem is there has to be somewhere where you're looking at it, because you can either save the cost and put 2 people in one vehicle, or you can insist, like when a meeting's in Missoula, to pay 2 different mileages or 3 different mileages. All 3 of us were supposed to go. So I went to an ag meeting down at the fairgrounds and Jim Bose was there. And I talked to him when he was commissioner. We're not gonna start taking minutes on each of those, because I've seen, well, we go to sporting events together. We literally could kill 1,000 trees for how many times we interact. But what our point is, if we do interact, like I don't go to Ty and say, I agree on Monday, we're wearing purple. We don't make agreements or whatever it is. We don't make any agreements unless it's in a notice meeting. But we list the people. You'd be surprised how many people want to come up and talk to us about something they're having an issue. And if there's two of us together, but one of us to turn their back and walk away, so it's not a meeting, we think is disrespectful.
Are you gonna make public you're by yourself, anybody who comes up that's ex parte communication?
So the question again is about ex parte communication. So you would like each of us to record our lives 24 hours a day? Because I mean, I got either 2 or 3 phone calls at home about the type 1. I mean, I know I got the call. The person that called me knows. I didn't make any promises. We had a discussion. But for me to start recording every time that anybody talks to me about county business, I'll never come to town anymore.
But don't you think it's important that you feel that you've had some of these conversations?
I-
And that.
I don't know where to start and stop. Anytime anybody talks to anyone, they could influence. I'll agree with you on that. However, we have lives outside this. We can't just go around town with just a piece of paper that says, I need bulks and not talk to you. And we can't stop anybody. I'm not trying to be flippant about this, but we've actually looked into it because we do. Like Ty and I had lunch 2 weeks ago at the Nickel. So theoretically, somebody would come in, oh, they're doing business. Odds are we're talking basketball, football, wrestling. And I don't know any feasible way to record every interaction I have with everybody. Whether it's, my neighbors are like, hey, what about the road? If you know my neighbors, one of them is he's teasing me. But
I guess what I'm getting at it, are any of this ex parte communications going to affect her? Or are you gonna just take the public information at public meetings to vote on?
we gather information all the time. I know well, this is how I feel about any subject. So we gather that information, we bring it in. If it's, to me, if it's something relevant, I'm like, hey, just, so-and-so said this, or I heard this, or something like that. But I don't have a detailed list of absolutely everyone in this county that has talked to me about zoning in general, or zoning specifically about the type of. The list would be endless. We make a good faith effort. Like I said, we don't make decisions unless we're in a meeting. We might go back and forth. Well, I think this, I think that, but there's no decisions made until we're all together. And if people are bringing forward information, we listen to it, because to ask, I don't know, ask any guy with animals in here, hey, you know what? Come see me on Monday. I don't think that's fair. Or call me on Monday, because we'll have people, they'll call us up randomly or stop in. They're paying their taxes. Well, what about this? They've stopped in. Oh, what about this part of the road? We do as good a job as we can, I feel, about sharing information and not making decisions outside when we're not supposed to make decisions.
Yes, you answer. But I think ex parte is something to pay attention.
Ex parte is very important, and we understand that. And like I said, we make a good faith effort, but we could never. It would be hard to exist. If we were in Yellowstone County, I'd never have to see these guys. I'm not trying to be flippant, but there's 100,000 people. But here, So we're trying. That's all I can say is we're trying. Oh, sorry, I knew you raised your hand earlier. I lost track.
Commissioners, Shane Eaton, Perry County, Dauphin County. Neighboring landowners in Macomb County. Vanna White couldn't make it today, so I was gonna ask if I could have a stand-in, Vanna come up for props.
I was gonna say, would you mind like coming over? Yeah, one side or the other, so folks, because we kind of.
Or in.
Before I get into,
Oh, I got you. All right.
in the turn letters, I'd like to address a few things, okay? You know, the petitioners have brought forth a zoning document that addresses the health, safety, general welfare concerns. The proponents have not addressed that at all. They've only levied against you economic threats. The petitioners have put forth a plan on how they'd like to develop their community. And I think that's important, and the proponents have not mentioned that. I'm sorry, the opponents. A type 1 zoning district, as you probably know, and so the rest of the audience can know, was brought up earlier by one of the opponents, does not need a growth pulse. A type 1 zoning district can say everything different than the county growth pulse. You can check that if that's true. That there was concern brought by the opponents on other developments in the proposed district. As you brought up earlier, Commissioner, you know, the coal is not addressed in this district. On top of that, there's variances. Variances are offered in the document that pertain to the regulation. Coal, nuclear, I don't think would be addressed in all these regulations either. But if there is something that needs a variance, you can apply for a variance. Just as somebody that wants to put in something taller than the height limit or closer to the property line can apply for a variance. So this isn't, you know, a one size fits all. The opportunity is there to adapt. Which the petitioner should get a high five for, because they put that in there. They didn't have to, but they did. The other point that was brought up by the lead proponent and the opponent was constituents in this petition. As commissioners, you are elected by your constituents, the folks that live here, citizens of Macomb County, and vote. My knowledge that this district has all the constituents in support of this, save one. To my knowledge, it could be incorrect.
Yeah.
But that's a huge factor, because the folks that did not sign the petition, the 10, 11, 12%, most of those are not constituents of this county. So who elected you? And did you get elected by the minority or the majority? So I'd ask you to consider that as you contemplate this. You have a nearly 90% petition of constituents. That's very important. Development agreement. That was brought up by the opponent instead of your constituents coming forward with zoning. As commissioners and as counties, the only way you put in land use regulations is through zoning. That's what's in statute 76-2. A development agreement puts this county, you commissioners, in a bad position. It puts you in a liability position, because you do not want to partake in my agreement with this gentleman, you know, in a development agreement, because then the county is going to get involved. You have no reason to be involved in an agreement between us two, other than if it's through zoning. That's why zoning is there. That way the agreement between all these people is through your zoning regulation.
or in this case, the type 1 zoning regulation. The development agreement is mostly illegal from the people I've talked to. You can get around it, but it puts you guys, I'm sorry, you as a commission and the county in a very bad position to get sued. Minority rights. We talked about a little bit this earlier. With minority rights, that have not been mentioned in this development specifically is the rights of the manufacturer of most of the parts that go into this development, and that's Communist Chinese Party. Okay? But the Communist Party in China builds most of the parts for these wind turbines over the last 2 decades. So consider that when you think about minority rights and who your non-constituents are. I think we'll go to Van White here, and I want to explain to you, commissioners, and the crowd a little bit about what these regulations do. So here you have, here you have a road. You have a landowner with a lease here, okay, 3/4 of a section. You have a quarter section here of a non-lease landowner, okay? You put up a tall structure that does not have any setbacks. Let's pretend we have no zoning, no setbacks. This structure comes in and takes, it's a taking of a non-leased landowner, okay? Doesn't affect this person with the lease, but this person now has lost the use of their land. They're never going to put a house here. They're never going to develop up here. It's a taking. And so the regulations put forth by the petitioners, commissioners, seeks to address that. And one of the regulations is you have owner A that has a lease in this case, okay? Owner B does not. So the petitioners are asking that there's a setback far enough so the effects of that structure is not a taking on the non-participating landowner. That's the purpose. Now, if we have 2 participating landowners, landowner A and B, the regulations allow for different setbacks, so they both agree to take a little bit from each other. Okay? So that's a compromise put in for the minority rights in the regulations. And I think that visual is important for you gentlemen to understand the thrust of the regulation. One other thing I'd like to leave you with is Dawson County does have 2 type 1 zoning districts. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but 2. Prairie County will be voting on one here in a week. Dawson County has a type 1 zoning district in front of it that it has to take action on. You know, Webull County put in zoning in the fall of 24, which I think you guys are familiar with, and they have setbacks that are similar to what's in the regulations. The variances are a big thing here. And so as opponents come up here, please take that into account and appreciate your time and applaud you for looking at your constituents. Thank you.
Might be one more risk going last time with Paul Hicks with NextEra Energy in Florida, with Ross. And I commissioners I work with on the environmental side of permitting, and wanted to just give you a little bit of overview of what our common practices are in the industry for NextEra, what we're in the middle of implementing right now, to give you a little sense for what else is going into the project. So tonight you've heard about the strong economic benefits of these types of projects. And I'm not going to go into any more of that, but I do want to say that this is matched by the way we look at our commitment to responsible stewardship of the land and the environment. And so for each of our projects, that goes wind, gas, nuclear, all of them, our whole fleet, we take considerable steps to ensure the project is practically developed in a responsible way. So we work with the industry's leaders, biologists, consultants, experts to inform our design. That includes setbacks. We study the project area and surrounding areas to determine the potential for impacting any sensitive wildlife. The project area has been extensively surveyed since 2019. Raptor nests for avian use, sage grouse, bats. These surveys are all conducted within guidance and adherence to not only U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services guidelines, but also Montana Fish Wildlife Parks. We work to avoid and minimize impacts to species, and some of the ways we do this is through our construction and design. So the way we minimize impacts is by co-locating infrastructure. And that means, moving things close to existing roads, property lines, not cutting through fields, avoiding resources, using the existing infrastructure, power lines that are available where we can. By limiting service disturbances and vegetation removal to the lowest amount we can. By scheduling construction outside of seasonal restrictions for wildlife, and by using other bird deterrents in our design. Also let you know, we'll be working with Montana Sage Grouse Habitat Conservation Program as we move forward, and working on a considerable compensatory mitigation package with them. During operations, our projects follow plans and protocols for revegetation, not just weed management, and for erosion and stormwater. These measures are developed together with the landowner, but also in line with state and local goals that you have and all of the state's policies as well. So while we continue to invite, input from everyone, we look to figure out how to design a project and maximize benefits for all to the extent we can. And appreciate your time stepping in.
Commissioners, Randy Arson, share a lot of promises there. You guys know Bruce Bonnie in that area. So I'm a landowner right next to where this is gonna go. Says been in contact with people. I've never been in contact how it's gonna affect me by next year. Greg, he had a pretty good point. I call it balances. All this money, because if you notice what Ross does, it's all has to deal with some taxes and everything else. I didn't realize it. Doing this county, this don't go through. It sounds like we won't exist either. Party lost. But it's our tax money that's giving us money back. I would say that's pretty much a definition of policies. In the zoning policy, if you read it, it starts off with protect the general welfare, health, and safety of the people. Ross himself, if you want to, January 6th, in Dawson County, he admitted that the type 2 zoning policy in Glendive, Dawson County was needed to protect the health, safety, general welfare. It came right from him. It's recorded. You can go to the video recording. And that's what the people are asking for. Majority of you signed up for this. No, it's your constituents. They're asking for this. They're asking you for your protection. That's hope you put a lot of consideration.
My name's Greg Nagel. I live in southeastern Wisconsin County. I'm on this board of Antelope, also on the Bowen County planning board. And a question for you guys: if you adopt a zone 2, zone 1 goes away, correct?
Correct. If you adopt type 2, it overrides whatever type 1 is in there.
Okay. We've been working on this for quite a while. Hopefully, we'll finish this easily by the end of the year. And right now, we're zoning pretty heavily under 200 feet tall, 2 miles from a roadway, 2 miles from a house, to protect our families. And hopefully, when the commissioners get this, they'll approve it. Then we won't need any zone 1.
And those of you that don't understand a variance, meaning if, Verizon, you don't have, phone service in some areas, and they probably get up there, I don't know, 4, 5, 600 feet. The commissioners can't do a variance with that tower. They can do a variance and put a coal mine in. They can probably do the same thing with nuclear. And maybe they'll come back to the board for advice. And hopefully we'll work together and keep our county safe. Another reason I don't want to see those towers in there, I don't want to ruin my view. I've got pretty rough land, I got evergreen trees, I'm pretty lucky. It's almost like I'm in the mountains somewhat. And that's really gonna ruin my view and devalue my land, consider. So that's all I have to say, and I hope the commissioners vote with us on this zone one. Thank you.
Norma Peabody from southern Macomb County. And I address the commissioners and concerned citizens. Everybody that's done any kind of research knows the reality of NextEra and their job. They're talking about big money while they put up the towers. The reality is it's gone. We've talked to people from all over. Some of us have been looking into this for at least 2 years. Some of the people that signed these agreements had no idea what they were signing. It was all kind of over the top and all the money you're going to get, but they did not tell them about health issues. They did not tell them about aquifers. They did not tell them about so many things. And I think even on that, they should be null and void. They should be able to get out of these things. People, nobody heard anything about NextEra and all these wind farms until all of a sudden people are signing because they're thinking, I got to pay this and I got to pay that, but they're not looking beyond it. And anybody that has a heart for our land, anybody that's been born, raised on this land, I don't know how in good conscience you could say that you would want to have these windmills. Wind farms. They call them green energy. Are you kidding me? The oil it takes to get those things, keep them going, the batteries that are so bad, just the structures, they come in, set them up, give you your pittance, whatever it is, and they're gone. They're gone. We got dead steel crap sitting all over our beautiful land. Not only that, the slack and the crap that's coming off of those things, oh, they're going to regenerate it? Oh, they're going to make it like it was? I don't think so. No, not at all. So, commissioners, I'm just saying, think, I guess beyond the money, because there is no money. We all know that. We all know that. Some people are getting a few pennies in their pocket or a few $1,000. What is that to legacy? It's nothing. We have a beautiful legacy here in eastern Montana. Let's keep it that way. Thank you for your time.
Tim Wolf, we signed on with Orion when they first came in. We were probably one of the last ones that signed with them. They were just gonna be a small, not very big tower. And 2 or 3 years later, NextEra showed up. They sold out. Maybe that was the plan. Who knows? But anyway, and then once NextEra got in here, then things just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'll agree with Gene. Mr. Keenan is good at what he does. But I have to say now, he knows what I'm gonna say. I've said it to him. NextEra is a toxic company. I've dealt with them. They're not honest, not trustworthy. What they say and what they do is 2 different things.
you call them on it and they'll say, well, we'll do better next time. Next time it's another issue and it's never right. And I think you're getting in. And I've said this publicly before. I'm going to regret signing that lease till the day I die.
Mhm.
And I will. And we've done it. And I'm not happy. I'd like to see it go away. Mr. Feehan knows that. But it's not gonna happen. I've seen their roads on our land. I mean, it's rough where they're going. And I don't know how much dirt they're gonna have to move to get these big blades in there. And then their environmental expert gets up here today and says, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. I've talked to people that have gone down to Mile City once. And you know, there's dust flying, there's weeds all over. Where was he? Where was he down there? I think it's just another talking point, get you to support. And Mr. Feehan talks about money, all the money. I've heard him, before done that. But I've yet to see him come up with a figure. This tower is going to generate this much money for the county per year. It's always just generalized. You don't know how many years he's talking about. I don't know. It's just a big general figure he throws out there. That's a big figure. And you're just supposed to go along with it. Part of this type 1 now, got some land in there. And I guess I'd like to see you approve it. Thank you.
I'm Norma Riley from Curry County. And unlike this gentleman, Jim and I were one of the last to sign. And first it was Orion, then it was Clearwater, and now it's Dexterra, and then I win. And we're disappointed that we signed too, because we just have a little piece of land left, but you can't believe how many, and we didn't know how tall, how many, but 9 of them on our little piece of land, plus about 3 or 4 others within a mile of our house, and the 9 are all around. But they were going to work with me too. But, they can't now because Prairie County is they're talking about zoning. They knew dang good well Prairie County was not going to zone. And I hope you pass your zoning petition, and I hope Prairie County passes their last best place one. Thank you. The love of money is the root of all evil.
Sign in the middle. Yeah. We can hear you.
I'm Mary from, address Brockwood Road, 6 Brockwood Road, Brockway. And I pay taxes in Macomb County and Prairie County. And like Jim and Jan and Norma, Brad and I signed a lease for a section and a half in Prairie County with with Clearwater. I'm confused, it's been changed hands at least 3 times now, maybe 4. Okay. But I'm gonna read my statement because I would like the Macomb County Commissioners to approve the proposed Mount Antelope Park planning zone in district, and I do own property in that zoning area as well as the zoning, the planned zoning in Prairie County. I have land in that zoning area that we're waiting for Prairie County to do something about as well. I feel this is needed because we as residents and taxpayers and landowners of Macomb County are facing a critical time in the history of our county and its people. It is evident in our neighboring Dawson and Prairie counties that the wind energy is the hot topic of discussion, dissension, and disagreement among the residents. And it sounds like we're coming to that too. 2 of the 3 Prairie County commissioners, Todd Devlin, Kristen Kelvin, had the opportunity to approve 2 different zoning proposals, the last petition being certified and signed with 100%
of the landowners and taxpayers in the proposed zoning area, wanting the zoning district to protect their property and their rights as residents living near a proposed wind farm. These two commissioners chose to ignore their constituents by rejecting the petitions. I believe it is the job of elected county commissioners to protect the safety, health, and welfare of the county's citizens, their taxpayers, and their landowners. U.S. commissioners have the opportunity now to prevent many potential problems and to protect those living near or owning land near the proposed wind farm in Prairie and Dawson counties. The county really wants 600+ tall wind turbines, blinking red lights, shadows, and the constant hum turbines and transmissions lines forced on people that had no say in the matter because zoning was not permitted. Rosy pictures have been painted about wind energy and its benefits, but do we really know how these proposed wind farms will be affecting our water resources and its benefits, as well as the wildlife, the birds and the cattle living near the turbines? How will they affect our agriculture, land, and our property values? And what will they add to our county's economy? There are lots proposed economic values, but so far there doesn't appear to be any clear answers as to how much revenue has been generated in Rosebud, Custer, and Garfield counties where the wind farms have been established. And the new information concerning the health of those living near wind turbines and the pitfalls, environmental impacts, and disastrous outcomes from burning turbines, abandoned projects, and cleanup are very alarming and disturbing, much of which was unknown, researched, or studied until just recently. And this so-called green energy is not green at all when considering the amount of fossil fuels it takes to make turbines in China, their transportation to locations, and in the construction of wind farms. We as citizens, property owners, and members of society must do what we can to protect our agricultural land, our environment, our health and safety, and the beauty of eastern Montana. Out-of-state businesses and developers no doubt consider this part of Montana just a vast wasteland with nothing to offer, but acres of space with lots of wind and solar potential. But for those of us that live here and have livelihoods here, this is the best place in the country to raise our families, our crops, and our cattle, and our way of life is important. It takes a zoning district with specific details and regulations as how far their proposed structures can be from non-participating neighbors and landowners as not to disrupt their lives, their livelihoods, their sanity, or their health, or if a limit of 199 feet on the height of structures being erected in the zoning district is implemented to help preserve the beauty of our beautiful big sky country for future generations, free of the blinking lights, the turbines, light pollution, and those 650 fires that will destroy our beautiful views. Approval of the proposed zoning district is necessary. It's essential and vital to the people living and owning property in this district, as well as to all eastern Montana residents who value our part of the world and its beauty and treasures. And on closing, I will say that next year has already threatened to sue some of the people that have signed the leases, trying to, because they're saying we're hindering the progress of that one. It kind of tells you what kind of business we'll be dealing with. And I really think this zoning might stop some problems in this county. The problems in Prairie County are probably going to be there. And some of us in that neck of the woods will probably be stuck with wind turbines. But maybe you guys can protect your county. Thank you.
Well said, Mary. Commissioners, if I may,
Sure.
I know we're talking about zoning, but I want to talk about the people that are wanted to put these windmills in. I've been to meetings.
I appreciate your thought, but today's about type 1 zoning for the type 1 that's here. So we don't want to get into
Just
personal
beware,
attacks.
people, who you're dealing with. Talk to some of us.
There is plenty of time for more comments, so we, yeah.
chose not to limit people to 3 units, but recording was set to go till 7:45, so you had.
Do we get a separate break? If I could address you one more time, I forgot to mention, 3 or 4 weeks, Ross attended a meeting. And I believe he talked to us, the planning board, about it bringing $11 million into Macomb County. $11 million over approximately 30 years. Today, he's talking 24 million, 30 million.
The 11 million was for the general fund.
For the general fund. Anyhow, it's not all clear to me. I was also given a piece of paper from an individual here who was at a public thing up west. And it showed that in Garfield County, they paid 72% of the taxes of their revenue in Garfield County. And when I contacted the treasurer up there, it took her 3 days to get back to me. She told me that was 30%. Wasn't what they had something. So I'm really concerned what they tell you. You know, what they may get across to you. You really have to check maybe to make sure it's true. I had somebody from NextEra contact me last week, wondering about what my concerns were with NextEra and having wind towers. And my main concern is taking those towers down, cleaning them up, and just all the health issues with them. But he sure wanted to figure out what he could do to make it right with us. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
I think I'm sorry, Beaver. South. South. There's a lot of other. Dirty stories. Every other. Thing that came up. Persevere over here. I think we'll persevere after steroids here. Other thing I'd like to say is that when I go over the bridge, it's east of my house. I can see that I'm in turn, it's over north of Forsyth and then that area there. Everybody talks about it. I've been down and said that several times. It's amazing how much ground other than just the towers get some takes out of production. Every one of those towers have loads to the substation that they have, and it has loads to the food, so that there's more to it than just the thought where the tower sits on it. You look out at the window outside here around the area and stuff. That landscape will forever turn the beauty with the wind chargers on. You have nothing to say about it. I get you to a point outside they have to be away from your opinion, but I live 50 miles from that one down in Forsyth. I can see it from with my niece and I see some of those problems. At night when they're flashing, we walk on the hill ride. Sometimes stop there and underline it, people doing that. Those 300 across. They're all have a red light with them at the same time. It's just literally lights up the air with that. Just think about the accident that's coming up to our town. I support this. The idea of having a step back on the other side of that. On now. So with that, I think we're going to try.
So who's next? We did have some comments submitted. If somebody doesn't want to speak.
I'll speak again. Actually, since Lonnie said we could be here till 7:30. I'll tell a story. How many of you know who Marcellus Jacobs was?
Who what?
Marcellus Jacobs was. He developed the wind and generators in the 1920s. And he lives about 2 miles north of where I live now. Anyway, I have a copy. And my point is, these big companies, it's all about big. It's big this, we're gonna build the biggest towers, we're gonna do, we're gonna come in and provide big money. And I have an interview with Marcellus Jacobs from 1973. And it's really interesting readings. But my point is this, things will change. There's a good chance. Well, during this interview, and if anybody wants a copy, we can make some copies of it. But in this interview, he talks about putting wind generators on the top of every power pole. I don't know if we can do that yet. But my point is this, is they will come in, they will build these 600-foot towers, 800-foot tip, whatever they are. 10 years down the road, we will have more development, and we might have towers this tall without enough energy. So I guess, well, like I said, I support this one. If anybody's interested, good reading. It's been around a long time. And these guys aren't new.
Yes, Greg.
Greg Berger, once again, Prairie County. One question I have for you commissioners and anybody in here, has anybody in here seen an environmental impact study submitted by NextEra?
The EIS would not be submitted to the county, especially not for this type 1. So no.
No, before any permits are given by the commission. You guys reviewed any kind of environmental impact study?
Well, we're not to the permit stage.
It's right around the corner.
Right, we're not to the permit stage. We didn't even have a road use agreement. So there would have to be a road use agreement first.
Yeah, I'm assuming you guys are in work on a road agreement.
No, because our county attorney has said, have Prairie County do theirs, Dawson County do theirs. Because they're the big counties, for lack of a better term. They're gonna do their road use agreements. Once those two are complete, then we would look at it. The downside with a road use agreement with Macomb County, our county attorney has let us know that until we have road easements on every road that would be involved, we cannot start a road use agreement.
I'm assuming your county attorney give the same information as ours in Prairie County for Macon.
Well, as far as I know, he has not considered them. The thing to remember about Prairie County, you probably have 95% of your roads, give or take, that have an easement on them. Macomb County is almost the exact opposite. I'll use Cow Creek as an example. Somebody was trying to buy a piece of land. We looked up the road for Cow Creek, has been there since the 20s, 30s, 40s, something like that. There's not enough road easements to get all the way through. Macomb County still has some easements that are like 30 feet wide. So when they would come to us to say they want to do a road use agreement, then we would pull all the easements we have, and that's where we would have to start, based on what our county attorney is telling us.
Now, one thing I asked is you commissioners, if zone 1, type 1 passes here or gets approved, you guys should immediately look for an environmental impact study from NextEra and start looking that over diligently. Right now, I wouldn't trust anything that's put out by them. Their bird people have in fact trespassed on certain land, counting birds. And at times I have seen them out there. They're not looking for birds the right time of the day either. We have people that have GPS the actual elect spots. And This is Prairie County only. I guarantee you, our GPS and our lag spots will not match theirs because we know where these lag spots are. Because they're not gonna notice any of the birds because they're out there the wrong time of day. The other thing, your permit process, I hope you guys have public hearings for this when it comes to that time, instead of making deals behind closed doors.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, Mako isn't a ruling authority. You guys are.
Right, and we have not consulted with Mako over guidance on this. We're dealing with type 1 and type
Right.
1, that type 1, they're gonna have their folks.
Right.
I mean, we're gonna approve their board based on, they say these are the people they want to do that, because we love volunteers. But that's the,
Yeah.
do.
Now this is, and there was a question Mary brought up, with people being compensated for these boards. Most of your boards in this county are volunteer boards, period. I'm on a couple of them. I don't get paid jack.
Right, we're not
It's
changing.
volunteer.
Right,
If you care about this county or any county, you're jumping up and down, hey, I want to be on that board. There's enough people in these rooms to fill these boards up. There should be. Especially with as many people are sitting here. And that's all I got, and thanks for your time, I appreciate it. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not coming to you.
yeah.
You know, environmental impact statement brings up a couple things for me. Now, wearing this hat, you know, it's the 250th anniversary of America this year, okay? Well, it's the 100th anniversary of a battlefield that's on a ranch that I have in the zone that the Prairie County Commissioners are trying to stop the zoning. And they want to put up a bunch of windmills. How many did you say, Norma? 9, 7, 9, 11, just a few miles
Yeah.
from the battlefield. And they never, ever looked into, I call it Camp David, but it was Sitting Bull and Lieutenant Baldwin had a battle up there on Ashby South, and I own that battlefield. Like I say, it's in the zoning that we're trying to get through. 100% of us is signed for it. And I understand there's filing a lawsuit against one of my neighbors over here, Shane. They're trying to stop all this. Hey, look who's in here. People. We are the people that control the government. We don't get pushed from on top. And I think right in this room here today, there's enough people right here. We'll stick together. Let's put this zoning in. Let's stop some of this garbage. It's common sense. Windmills. Hey, I used to pump water with windmills. I use electricity now. Works pretty good.
Yeah.
We have had some written comments. Rod Langmo, my name is Rod Langmo. I'm a landowner in Macomb County. I wish to express my support for energy development projects in Macomb, Dawson, Prairie counties and oppose the proposed zoning. My name is Burl Peckman, and I'm a landowner in Macomb County. I wish to express my support for the energy development projects in Dawson, Macomb, and Prairie County and oppose the proposed zoning. Macomb County Board of Commissioners, this email is to inform you we are not opposed to the Macomb Mountain Antelope Park zoning district proposal on our land, which includes land owned by Whitcup Incorporated, Whitcup Land, LLC, and Curtin Whitcup. Macomb County Commissioners, greetings, make this brief. As longtime residents, landowners, and taxpayers, we encourage the Commissioners' support Macomb Mountain Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District Type 1 zoning proposal. Farmers and ranchers have been said to be some of the first environmentalists. We strive to protect the land and wildlife. We believe the creation of zoning Type 1 will enhance those efforts. It's not about just us, but also important to our future generations. Dan and Don Undum. I, Todd Caston, am a landowner in Macomb County. I understand there's a type 1 zoning request for a specific area of Macomb County. I do not have any input on an area of property that others own and want to have put in place. That is up to them. However, I understand there's also type 2, so that doesn't come here. And I'm emailing you regards to the meeting this coming Monday, determine zoning for proposed wind developments. I am president of Earl Green Incorporated, which incorporates nearly 6,000 acres in southeast Macomb and southwest Dawson counties. I am in favor of self-sufficient wind development. Here's why: it's feasible. I grew up leaning into the constant winds out there. It's best use of remote wind-blown hilltops. Developers pay for the new roads and upgrades to existing ones. It generates county tax revenue. It helps our family after 4 generations. It's about time we actually benefit from that dang wind. Mike Migalski. Good morning, Commissioners. Attached a statement from Great Northern, which for those who don't know is based out of Wolf Point, regarding their proposed Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District. Due to a meeting she's unable to attend. Okay. So this is Great Northern, dear Macomb County Commissioners, members of the Planning Board. Thank you for the opportunity to submit a statement for the record regarding the proposed Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District. Great Northern Development is the regional economic development organization recognized by the U.S. Economic Development Administration to serve Macomb County and the surrounding counties in northeast Montana. Our mission is to support economic diversification, strengthen local tax bases, encourage responsible investment that benefits rural communities. GNDC recognizes the land use decisions are local and respects the roles of property owners and county officials in shaping Macomb County's future. However, as an organization tasked with evaluating long-term economic trends, we believe it is important to note the broader economic considerations associated with regulations that drive large-scale private investment in rural regions. For example, one currently proposed regional private investment project that would be affected by this proposed land use regulation estimated that the portion located in Macomb County would generate approximately $83 million in capital investment within the county. Over the life of the project, approximately $24.2 million in total property taxes and impact fees will be paid to Macomb County, including over $7.9 million to local school districts. Whether or not this specific example proceeds, GNDC believes it is important to recognize that regulatory frameworks can influence how external investors evaluate risk when investing in rural counties. Capital investment often requires long-term certainty. Policies and regulations that significantly limit certain types of development may affect how future investors looking at the region assess risk, regardless of industry. When counties adopt new regulations, outside investors pay attention. Companies look to invest in rural areas, whether in energy, agriculture, manufacturing, or infrastructure, look for stability and predictability. Large projects often require many years of planning and millions of dollars in upfront investment. Because of that, investors want to know that the rules be clear and consistent. Regulations significantly limit certain types of developments, even if they're aimed at a single project. Future investors in other industries may view that as an added risk. When risk rises, investment often goes elsewhere. As you all know, Macomb County, like much of eastern Montana, faces ongoing challenges, including population decline, farm consolidation, limited diversification of its economic base. As a regional organization, GNDC is tasked by its member communities with ensuring that counties retain flexibility to pursue opportunities that align with local values while maintaining a welcoming environment for responsible investment. With that in mind, we respectfully encourage decision makers to consider both the immediate land use objectives and the longer-term economic impacts associated with new regulatory structures. Thank you for your service, for the opportunity to provide input. So it's Tori Matajowski, Executive Director. Anybody else want to speak? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Shane Eaton, Prairie County, Dawson County. One thing I wanted to bring up before I do not is when you make this determination, you look at the public interest and convenience. That's two of the determining factors in making this decision. It's obvious from this room that your constituents are in favor of the district. So the public interest is obvious. They're proponents for the district. Convenience. So what's the public convenience? The petitioners have gone to great lengths in the research, and you've been given data that backs up the regulation, the setbacks. They've done all the work for you. They made it easy. It's convenient. You know, so they've looked at how they treat participating landowners and non-participating landowners. And so those factors, when you consider this, as it is directed in statute, are well laid out for the proponents. But I'd like to add that for you when you make your decision. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm running out of water. The next one, I'm gonna apologize on this name. It's a Todd Schleckaway, President, CEO, Nate, the Communication Infrastructure Contractors Association. Macomb County Commissioners, please find attached this email, a letter for the record submitted by Nate in advance of the upcoming hearing in Macomb County regarding the proposed zoning height ordinances. Nate and our member companies based in the state of Montana believe if adopted, these rules would have negative impacts on Macomb County's ability to connect to reliable high-speed service, something every resident should be able to count on, regardless of whether they live in Billings, Bozeman, or rural Montana. Thanks for your time and attention to the attached letter submitted on behalf of our organization, BS, for a number of contractors. Dear Commissioners, Nate, the Communications Infrastructure Contractors Association represents approximately 975 member companies nationwide who build, deploy, and maintain the country's communication infrastructure and related wireless and broadband networks. Nate's membership includes 6 contractor firms in Montana whose technicians do the tough, gritty work that enables connectivity in the state. Nate urges you to reconsider the proposed zoning ordinance drafts that would implement height restrictions for all structures in Macomb County. If adopted, these rules would have serious negative impacts on Macomb County's ability to connect to reliable high-speed service, something every resident should be able to count on, regardless of whether you live in Billings, Bozeman, or rural eastern Montana. This is wide open country. Families, farms, schools, and first responders are spread across long distances. Delivering high-speed coverage here requires taller towers and flexibilities in siting. The current drafts, whether through strict 199-foot height caps or extreme multi-mile setbacks, will make it nearly impossible to build the infrastructure our communities need. The consequences are clear. Public safety, deputies, firefighters, and EMTs need dependable coverage. Weak service delays, response, and puts lives at risk. Healthcare, telehealth requires high-speed connections. Without it, rural patients are cut off from doctors and specialists. Education, students cannot compete if they lack access to online resources and assignments. Coverage gaps widen the digital divide. Agriculture and business, farmers, ranchers, and local businesses rely on high-speed service to stay efficient and connected to markets. Fairness, rural Montanans deserve the same high-speed opportunities as those in urban areas. These ordinances deny Macomb County equal access. Investment, additional restrictions make the economics of development challenging and will deter providers from expanding high-speed infrastructure in Macomb County. Other counties have crafted balanced rules that protect community character while enabling modern service. Macomb County should do the same, allow taller towers where needed, replace blanket setbacks with practical reviews, and align approval timelines with federal standards. If adopted as written, these ordinances will leave Macomb County and eastern Montana behind without the high-speed connections that are essential to public safety, healthcare, education, economic opportunity. Signed, Todd Schleckaway. Thank you.
Say you?
Yes.
Okay, so that particular individual is talking about federal law section 409 for allocations and modifications and constraints. That law, okay. I accidentally printed out the entirety of the law. I'll read it later, but here's the synopsis. The Spectrum Act mandates that a state or local government must approve any eligible facilities requests for modification for existing wireless towers or base stations that do not substantially change the physical dimensions of such towers or base sections. This section aims to facilitate the deployment of wireless infrastructure by ensuring that modifications are not unreasonably delayed or denied. The time constraints for approval are set at 60 days from the date of application is filed unless the application is deemed incomplete. If the application is incomplete, the clock is tolled until the application provides the necessary information. If the application is deemed incomplete, the clock is tolled until the applicant provides the information. If the applicant is approved, it is deemed approved at the expiration of the 60-day period. So this basically says, which is also in our planning zone, that wireless towers are not affected. They're approved. So this guy's blowing wind up our skirts, trying to tell us that we have to, that this is going to be a detriment to our community if we pass this zone. If anybody wants to read this 50-page document that says that it's already approved, you're welcome to it. So,
Thank you.
I don't like wind like that. You couldn't.
Okay, next one. This is from something called CTIA, which used to be Cellular Telecommunications Industry Association. Now they just go by their initials. So it's a trade association for wireless communications. Dear Commissioners, on behalf of CTIA, the Trade Association for Wireless Communications, I'm writing to submit the following comments regarding various provisions in the county's proposed zoning regulations. As currently drafted, the height and setback provisions and lack of clarity recording section 6409 procedures would impede the ability of wireless providers to meet growing consumer and public safety needs. For initial background, it's critical to keep in mind that the public's growing demand for wireless communications requires reliable and ubiquitous service, which in turn requires our members to continuously invest in wireless infrastructure to upgrade and expand their networks. In 2024, Americans use more than 132 trillion megabytes of mobile data, shattering the 100 trillion megabyte mark, so just the year before, and marking the third straight year of approximately 35% growth. Meeting this demand requires clear, consistent, streamlined policies that drive investment and commitment to upgrading wireless infrastructure, whether to support connectivity for local businesses, schools, and families, or ensuring resilient service. This approach has enabled the wireless industry to invest $219 billion in the nation's networks since 2018. Unfortunately, provisions of the proposed regulations would inhibit that ongoing progress. Height and setback restrictions. The draft regulations would require a special or conditional use permit for towers over 150 feet and prohibit any structure over 199 feet. They would also require setback property lines equal to the height of the structure. In practice, these constraints would reduce coverage and capacity by limiting optimal antenna elevations, needs to overcome terrain and serve dispersed populations, particularly in rural areas, necessitate additional towers to cover the same service area, increasing both deployment costs and the number of visible structures, contrary to the county's stated objectives of efficient deployment and minimize visual impact. Foreclose co-location opportunities on taller structures that typically allow multiple providers to share a single site, thereby reducing the overall number of sites and mitigating aesthetic concerns. We respectfully recommend the county adopt a more flexible, performance-based approach that allows heights necessary to achieve coverage and co-location paired with appropriate design and concealment standards where context warrants. At a minimum, we suggest one, permitting tower heights above 199 feet where justified by radio frequency engineering analyses demonstrating coverage, capacity needs, or co-location benefits. And two, replacing the rigid height to property line setbacks with a safety-based standard tied to structural engineering and fall zone analysis with administrative waivers where compliance is technically infeasible or counterproductive to shared use objectives. Compliance with federal law, section 6409. Federal law requires local governments to make eligible co-locations and certain modifications to existing structures under section 6409 within 60 days, subject to specific completeness and tolling rules. The current draft does not establish a compliant, streamlined procedure for processing these eligible facilities requests, which risks unlawful delay and uncertainty of routine upgrades that expand capacity and enhance resiliency. To align with federal requirements and ensure predictability for both the county and applicants, we recommend the regulations include a dedicated section 6409 process that defines EFRs consistent with federal rules and clarifies that qualifying applications are approved as of right within 60 days. Establish a short objective checklist for application completeness and provides for one completeness review with specific defect identification consistent with federal tolling needs. Limits review to code compliance, safety, and concealment requirements that do not defeat concealment or substantially change the physical dimensions beyond federal thresholds. Provides ministerial approval, example, building permit issuance upon expiration of the shot clock or earlier determination of eligibility. Authorizes staff to grant administrative waivers of local provisions where necessary to comply with federal law. We also recommend adding an administrative waiver provision to the regulations more broadly, enabling staff to adjust requirements where needed to address technical feasibility, federal preemption, or demonstrable public safety considerations. Thank you for considering our feedback and concerns. We look forward to further collaboration to achieve a comprehensive and equitable ordinance that benefits all residents, communities of Macomb County. Signed, Anissa Reed, Director of State and Local Affairs. Please.
Again, a little more unnecessary wind being blown in our skirts. Fourth, we note, this is on page 10 of the federal law, section 6409, page 10, paragraph 21. Fourth, we note that a local government may use conditional use permits, variances, and other types of authorizations under the local government standard zoning or siting rules in connection with consideration of an eligible facilities request. We clarify, however, that requirement must obtain authorizations that may not be used by local government to delay the clock shot. So in other words, when they come to you guys and they ask you for something in the wireless realm, you're supposed to say yes, because there's a whole big page full of law. So he blew a bunch of extra words and made Alan's tongue dry so that he could say that, yeah, you have to apply to schools.
Once I have a comment, I got 3 more pages, fair warning.
I think some people from here already.
Well, they're not from here, but it's public comment, public comments. You're gonna get a 10-minute break. You do a 10-minute break? Yeah. All right, 10-minute break, whatever time it is. You need to step out and step out. Okay.
Probably from. Okay, no, you get hooked over me for like a half hour now. Yeah. Yeah.
If I bet this, I would swear, just.
Well, so it's like.
No.
Yeah, I guess. 10% for somebody ground robbers. They did.
Unplug this. Probably better not.
We're great for doing. No.
Next area. And then one, they're making it there. I'm not. I hope so. I just I'll be the one thing. And you just that's right. That's right. Well, the whole
So I gotta take for So we got 11 attenders. So not to tell them. Hoping to get on both feet. Oh, sorry. And I don't know. Yeah. I think it's in a way over. More than anything. They didn't want to put out any. I don't do a little place. Hold it right there. Right a little. You don't mind. Okay. You can take that. Just at the end of the day. Yeah. Yeah. And they have to do. So practice thing. That was designed to there, but it's about the same distance from Sydney. Yeah. Surprised me. And they bought them on Thursday and loaded them up Friday morning. He thought all the originally it's the next week. But they were a little over the, they're like $30 over the price. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, you got it actually. What's the deal later?
Thank you. January, but that's shit going out.
All right, folks, we get your attention again. We have a slight distraction on the side, but since it's the courtroom and it's the courthouse, they kind of pay the bills and that's their device. We didn't see kicking the guy out that fixes it. So we thought that would be bad when Savannah comes back and gets mad at us. Okay, so I've got one more letter. It's instead of, I'm just gonna read through it instead of explaining it. Dear Macomb County Commissioners, my name is Alan Kloss Anderson, and again, if I butcher names, I apologize. I'm an attorney and chair of the Energy Practice Group at Polsinelli, an AM Law 100 law firm with more than 1,200 attorneys across the United States. I've spent more than 2 decades working in the energy sector, including extensive work on wind energy developments across the Midwest and Mountain West. I also teach renewable energy law at the University of Kansas School of Economics, with a focus on the intersection of energy infrastructure and local policy. I appreciate the opportunity to provide information to the board as it considers the potential impacts of wind energy development in Macomb County. I write today on behalf of Glendive Wind LLC to address a concern that is often raised during the early stages of wind project development. The claim that wind turbines negatively impact surrounding property values. While this concern is understandable, it is not supported by the overwhelming body of empirical research conducted over the past 2 decades. Studies, and then next paragraph, studies find no detrimental impact on property values as well as positive community impacts. As you'll see, the comprehensive studies on this topic have consistently included that wind energy projects do not reduce property values. A 2024 study conducted by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in partnership with researchers from the University of Connecticut and American University analyzed over 500,000 home sales near 429 wind projects across 34 states. In counties with a population of under 250,000, the study found there was no statistically significant long-term impact on home values, even for homes located within 1 mile of a turbine, which is consistent with a number of other studies conducted by LBNL over the last decade. The 2025 study, again from the LBNL in partnership with researchers from the University of Connecticut and American University, compared home values in school districts with wind projects to school districts in the same county without wind projects. This study found an approximately 3% increase in district-wide housing values associated with the wind project, most likely due to an increased tax base, additional tax revenue, better public services, and employment gains associated with wind energy development. Focusing more exclusively on rural areas, the Center for Economic Development and Business Research at Wichita State University conducted a study in 2019 of wind projects located in Kansas. Using a difference in differences regression model, the study compared rural residential property value growth in counties with wind projects to those without from the years 2002 to 2018. The result, no statistically significant evidence that wind projects either increased or decreased property values. This analysis has also been confirmed by studies in other Midwestern states. Researchers at the University of Oklahoma conducted an analysis of 23,000 residential real estate records in 5 counties in western Oklahoma, exploring the sale price of platted and unplatted properties before announcement, after announcement, and after turbine construction. They confirmed there was no significant decrease in property values for homes or unplatted property near wind farms, and also found that among plots of unplatted land between 0.5 and 1 mile away from turbines, the median price sale increased both after announcement and after construction. These findings are echoed by local appraisers. A 2022 market impact analysis by Marouse and Company, which surveyed assessors in 10 states with wind projects, found no market evidence of negative impacts on residential and agricultural property values due to wind development. Similarly, a 2019 survey of county appraisers in 23 of the 24 Kansas counties with wind farms found that none had made any adjustments to property values based on proximity to turbines. Wind installations economically benefit counties and property owners. These findings are further reinforced by the broader economic context surrounding renewable energy developments. Wind energy projects bring substantial benefits to rural communities, including increased tax revenues, landowner lease payments, and job creation. 2022 peer-reviewed study by Brunner and Schwegman found that wind energy development led to measurable increases in county-level GDP, income per capita, and median home values, particularly in rural counties like Macomb. While anecdotal concerns about individual properties may arise, these are often influenced by unrelated factors such as deferred maintenance, unique property characteristics, or market timing. As Jeremy Hill, director of Wichita State's Center for Economic Development, stated, if you're concerned about this impact on overall residential property value, that should not be a concern. We urge the board to rely on this robust body of research as it considers the future of wind energy in Macomb County. Glendive Wind is committed to being a good neighbor and a responsible steward of the land. We welcome continued dialogue with the board and the community to ensure this project brings lasting benefits to Macomb County. Signed Alan Claus Anderson. There are references in case somebody does want the references. I didn't want to read the references, but I'll give you a copy of it or email it to you or whatever. It's going to take longer. Yeah, sorry, it's going to take longer to read all the studies. Any comments yet? Oh, yes, ma'am.
No, Peabody again. I think it's quite amazing and amusing that NextEra had these companies from way out somewhere send these letters into our little community. I would like to ask personally, with you, each of you commissioners, have you met with NextEra privately?
NextEra has been to our office multiple times.
No, I'm asking if, okay, just privately as a group or individually? No?
They've come to our office during office hours.
He's not been on the agenda, but Ross has been to our office. Ross and then either 2 or 3 other folks have been to our office while the office was open.
I see, but not at private, separate from these meetings, public meetings.
I don't recall ever meeting with them outside the meetings, but they weren't all on the agenda because, I mean, he would stop in sometimes or call him.
Of course.
But
of course. Thank you.
He's not the only one for that question. I mean,
Oh, I'm
people stop in all the
just asking
time.
specifically about them because that's what.
Oh, yeah, no, and then, I mean, it's in our minutes when he does, either calls in or stops in, it's in our minutes. If there's no other comments, sorry,
What's the name of that guy?
the last one. Alan Klaus, Claus, Claus.
Ross, is that your fellow from Kansas that spoke at that one that we? That I called him out on electricity. He really doesn't know what he's talking.
Guarantee the best. So, I find it interesting that they send these letters in talking about how there's no damage, there's no problems, everybody loves the land that's underneath of them. Let me play something for you. You want to buy a house underneath this, don't you? Yeah, that sounds really good because, you know, you want to pay like $8,000, don't you? Because this is really nice, isn't it? We just love listening to this all night long because you don't hear anything. Do you? No. Nobody hears anything underneath of these.
Yeah.
You'll see any flicker on that or anything. You got no. Perfectly good. So the properties would not be damaged in any way, in any sort. But how to mess around, wouldn't it? At all. No.
Yes, I'd like to add on to what I just said. Approached this guy and after the meeting in Glendive last fall and says, why should we support this? This power going to the West Coast. He says, no, it's going into the grid. Everybody benefits. And I says, no, everything I hear it's going to the West Coast. He says, no, wrong. He said, oh, electric that sent this map out and the manager about it later on. But we're in this deal. I said, we're tied in with Texas. I said, what Texas had that big snowstorm a few years ago. We had a rolling blackout up here. He says, and I says, it came because the power had to go down there. He says, oh, your local manager lying to you about that. Oh, yeah, correct. I didn't say going down, I said, you go clean up Texas. There's 3 branches that go into Texas. But anyway, you clarified it. He didn't know what he was talking. Correct. And I guess that really bothered me when he did not know what he was talking about because we are tied in. Correct. And you explained how, you know, the state goes west for that. But we're excited. Sure. Anyway, and I guess that really bothered me when he said, well, the manager was lying to me about the blackout. That what it was from power went out there. So I guess he'd have no credibility as far as I'm concerned. I guess I talked to Ross about this and he asked me to come in and speak to him about it and I hadn't done that. Excuse me. Couple back here. Oh, I just got one question we mentioned earlier about our infrastructure or our right of ways. You know, if we only got 30-foot right of ways to some of this stuff, you know, has there been any study on acquiring more right of ways from people?
We have sent letters after letter, we had that one and the Calvert one, we sent letters to get the right of ways when we tried for this person that was trying to buy land. We got 4 of the landowners to send back with right of ways. We have not got any. And as far as some of the stuff on NextEra, I've looked into it. The one on Tower Hill, we got one landowner that signed right of ways on that road. Otherwise, we have no grounds as a county commissioner to even deal with NextEra on the right of way.
Right. But do they can't just come and take somebody's right away away from them? Do they also go through condemnation or something?
Yeah, and the question about take it right away is ultimately eminent domain is an option. It's a government option, you know, for the greater good. I think if you want to ask the commissioners what our thoughts on eminent domain are, you're going to get an answer pretty quickly. Which I'm good if you don't ask that question, so that's good. But yeah, Prairie County 10, 15 years ago, they hired somebody he was back in the area and he went around to every road, and Cone County's intention was to hire him. And he quit doing it and we didn't get him hired. And so at case by case, because Cow Creek was the first one that we talked about, Buffalo Creek was the next one. And so the commissioner's power is to send a letter or to ask politely, for you to give an easement on that road. We've done follow-up, we've talked to some people. We can't force you to give an easement no matter what road it is. Cow Creek, Buffalo Creek, Beauty Creek, we'll ask nicely, but I'm not gonna speak for the other commissions. We've sort of gone back and forth. I cannot see Macomb County ever using eminent domain to force it through. So we're not supposed to pick a position, but the three of us would not use eminent domain. You'd have three other commissioners. So, well, I mean, it's not.
No, that raises a question with me. Let's say that this deal doesn't pass and Nexera moves in here and starts putting up towers, and they're using roads that you don't even have right of ways on.
Right, there should be a road usage agreement before, because
Where's your county attorney to be?
our part-time county attorney is not in the county.
Today.
Well, but the voting is not on the county attorney.
No, but I'm just saying.
Right, but Macomb County, right, but Macomb County only has a part-time attorney, and odds are he's in court today. So court takes precedence over him.
Yes, you said you were gonna vote today and now you're not because this stuff wasn't certified. All these people came today because you were gonna vote today. Are they all gonna come back next Monday? Let's hope Let's hope they do.
But this is the opportunity for everyone to give us their opinion. So
But you should have made sure that stuff was done.
I understand what you're saying. The recorder is the one that certifies that.
How many was there to certify? 27?
I don't know the number.
It's minute compared to Dawson or Prairie County.
My point, you've had
Yeah.
so many days to have this done, and I realize you've had over 3 months. I realize Sherry's got some issues and there's stuff going on, but I mean, I could have come up and compared them for her and she just had to certify.
You're welcome to ask her when she's in the office.
Well, I guess I feel that that's your job to make sure that it's.
Right, but she's an elected official. We're elected.
She
don't have
she
the
has
authority.
2 helpers, doesn't she?
She has 1.5, yes.
Okay. I worked for finding mineral rates for an oil company one time. I did 15, 20, 30 a day, depending on how complicated they were. And I don't feel this is a very complicated deal to certify the petition with the landowner. I'm just saying, I hope it's done by next Monday. And I hope everybody shows up to hear the vote. Guess that's all I got to say.
Back to the wind bird deal. If these roads don't have legal access, even though everybody's using them, and I don't believe they have any access covered for transmission lines to get this power out of here, wouldn't those two things need to be done prior to even trying to lease the?
How they conduct their business. How they do their business.
I'm asking you guys.
Well, we're not turning it into a debate. We're here today about type 1 zoning for this area. But the question came up about roads. We've worked on different roads. We got, we had like a big project comes up. We've worked on those roads, trying to get those, and we're not proud of it. And then some of the roads from way back when was a 30-foot east. So we're gonna work on each of them, but We don't have somebody like Prairie County did to hire and go out. And then we've had more than one person that said, I'm never giving an easement. I mean, it's, you as a landowner, if you tell us you're never giving us an easement, you're never giving us an easement. I mean, we're not gonna use eminent domain. That's not something we would do. But all we can do is ask you nicely. We don't have power to inflict something on you that says, no, you will give us an easement.
So if a company doesn't have an easement for, say, transmission, but yet they have their wind towers and stuff up, can that company use eminent domain then to get the easements that they need?
Can't. The government is the one they can go and ask. There's companies that have gone to the government and asked in different places. I mean, there's no shortage. Look up eminent domain and there's no shortage of people. And I know a casino in New Jersey, they used eminent domain for a casino. They lost their houses so somebody can have a casino. I'm not saying it's right, it's power the government has. Not the county, though.
Well,
County
back to this deal, there's been 3 different figures today on different stuff that's been read or said about how many taxes Macomb County is going to get, and they vary by quite a lot of money. And they're also different than the figure that you guys gave when there was a tax abatement meeting in this room, which you don't remember because nobody was here. There was a guy on the phone. And so there's 4 different tax figures I've heard on how darn rich Macomb County is going to be, and
It won't exist.
well, if there's any accuracy to them at all, they should be within a few $1,000s of each other, and they are not. Of course they do, as the Howard. And all of those figures, they've never been verified by any state appraiser. Matter of fact, I asked at that abatement deal whether we could get a value on what's one tower worth. We can figure out what the taxes will be. There's a appraiser somewhere that figures out. We can't even get a value on that. So I guess when it comes to the figures that the company has given us for all this money that's going to be received, I don't know what to believe, but I don't believe any of the figures at the moment.
Trying to get evaluations for the state is difficult because when Keystone is coming, the state would not. They're just thinking, no, we're not going to tell you, not until it's built.
I can provide a little information on why the state doesn't want it. I worked for the state for almost 34 years. When property like utilities they cross multiple counties, they are referred to the centrally assessed bureau in Helena. And they take their values, as far as I understand it, I didn't actually work centrally assessed property, but as far as I understand it, those values come annually from the New York Stock Exchange, which fluctuates every year, up and down and up and down. So any figures that the State Department of Revenue could have given us, they had no way of knowing. So where are they getting our numbers? Period. They're pulling them out of thin air.
That's where they're pulling them out.
Back to type 1.
Hey, Alan, is that guy's name Alan Kloss?
Alan Kloss something, yeah.
And it doesn't. He's paid, he's next there is.
The public comments for anybody, because this type 1 is for the folks in the type 1 area. But as you can see, we've got folks from all over. So we're just taking public comments.
Have there been impact studies and anything done on this stuff like this? Have you guys seen any impact studies or anything?
You're talking like environmental ones?
Right, environmental or anything, how it's gonna affect.
I mean, it's not relevant to
For some reason, they don't have to do it like an oil company, the coal company's gotta do all that. These guys don't. For some
But
reason.
okay, so we're back to type 1.
Right.
So,
My only other question was, I mean, I got a lot, I think before we can move any of this, we've got, got right away issues, we've got a lot of concerns that they can answer.
yeah, and next year is a different issue than type one.
Okay.
Type one, this is zoning for the folks in the type one area. So, and the county's interaction with next year, that, I mean, it's apples and oranges, no. Well, if something comes up, but
Somebody should institution right away, we'll do all that. That could be approved in the next step, right?
well, if we're presented, if we're to the point where next year is saying we're really not there. If next year is saying we want a road use agreement, then our county attorney is gonna get the copy from Dawson and Prairie County. And then he's gonna look at them. And then with our county attorney, we're gonna be with next year. But at that point, we're gonna start pulling all the road records and I'm not proud by any means. We have worked on it.
I know we're trying to get off track here,
Yeah.
but I just don't want to say, okay, we rezoned this. These guys, hey, you guys rezoned it. They just take off and go.
No, because the road use is gonna be like, if you own a piece of land on whatever. Either you or your relatives are given an easement on so you live in Cal. Right, so that we're gonna have to pull each and every one, and Ty's pulled them on some of the roads, but. We weren't to this, as soon as our county attorney said, wait till the other two counties have done theirs before we even started looking at it. Well, I mean, that was his guidance, and we had enough other stuff we were trying to get done, so that's where that's as far as we went. That would be, yeah, starting off, that would be the next thing. We would pull all the road records, see where we're at, send out letters asking, and we would explain in the letter, this is why we're asking, and then we'll see what gets returned.
So like maybe 2035, we could have this approved.
All we can do is work with what we got, so. But if anybody wants a job of getting easements on every road in Macomb County, see us after the meeting. So back to the type one. Unfortunately, we can't vote today because we don't have the certification from the clerk recorder. That needs to be done before we can vote on it. So our intent is to schedule this meeting again for next Tuesday. However, what we do want to do is read the resolutions. So they've been online. A couple comments were added based on the written comments we got. What we didn't put in there is like when an individual says, I support it. We didn't see the value in doing that, but some of the other ones, here's some comments on it. So they're slightly changed from the one online. We'll try and get it updated, try and get back online this week for the newest one. But what we want to do, Lonnie graciously volunteered, he's going to read both resolutions. And what this is, next week, hopefully when we vote on it, there's going to be a motion asked to deny and a motion asked to approve. And then we'll go forward from there. So we can definitely read them again if somebody wants. We can have a copy if somebody wants to read it again next week. But at this point, if you haven't read it, then you're gonna suffer through because it's 2-3 pages, 4 pages, something like that. It's like 4 pages. So hang in there, we're getting close.
So before I start, there's a couple things. If you did get a copy of this, either offline or pick one up, after the comment period, mainly the long ones that Ellen went over, some of those comments and concerns were added to this. And there's dates and percentages in here that aren't determined yet. And when I get to those, when I read this, I'll just say to be determined because that date. We thought we would have to read the dates from it for that and percentages, but we don't. The first one is a resolution by the Macomb County Commission denying the creation of the Macomb Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District. Whereas on November 10, 2025, petition was filed with the Macomb County Clerk and Recorder by the affected real property owners of the property within the area described in petition and attached maps, create a planning and zoning district pursuant to Title 76, Chapter 2, Part 1 of the Montana Code annotated, which will be referred to as MCA after this. And whereas the Macomb County Clerk and Recorders certified on determined 2026 that pursuant to MCA Section 76-2-1011 to be determined percentage of the affected real property owners within the proposed district had signed petitions requesting the creation of a citizen initiated zoning district that consists of more than 40 acres. And whereas on February 23rd, 2026, the Macomb County Commission held a public hearing to consider the creation of the Macomb Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District. Whereas notice of the public hearing was provided in accordance with state law stating that the written comments could be provided to Macomb County Commission and that the oral comments would be taken at said public hearing. Whereas at the public hearing, citizens and residents of the proposed citizen initiated zoning district spoke or offered comments in favor and in opposition to creating the district, why the district was or was not in the public interest or convenience. Whereas the Macomb County Commission, after reading the submitted written comments and considering the oral comments provided at the public hearing, make the following findings of fact. Creating the district and adopting appropriate regulations may protect the public health and the safety and general welfare of people who reside within the district. Creating the district and adopting appropriate regulations may protect the property values of the surrounding non-participating landowners of the district. Creating the district and adopting appropriate regulations may allow for protection of large agricultural producers within the district who grow crops and raise livestock for human consumption. Creating the district and adopting appropriate regulations may preserve and maintain the character of the area, may promote growth, demonstrate with character of property and uses within the district. Creating district and adopting appropriate regulations may promote development which is compatible with the present character of the area within the district. County commissioners considered the public comments made both in support and in opposition to the creation of the district, with discussion on both sides generally revolving around the protection of private property rights, with the opponents focusing on the impact that the development on adjacent property would impact trees and deployment on their own property. The state of Montana has enacted wind turbine regulations and statute establishing the minimum standards for setbacks and the anything is set forth in House Bill 939. Although enforcement decisions appear to be allowed. The Natural Resources Conservation Service has adopted a long-range strategic plan for Prairie County, which includes general plans for the decommissioning and removal of windmills used for the pumping of water for agricultural and domestic uses, and the replacement of the same with solar pumping units. Commissioners find that the 2025 Macomb County growth policy states that protection of private property rights should also be paramount when decisions are made with regards to land use. Commissioners find that the Montana Constitution, Article 2, Section 3, entitled Inalienable Rights, guarantees that all people are born free and have certain inalienable rights, including the right to a clean and healthful environment, to pursue life's necessities, and to defend their lives and liberties. It also includes the rights to acquire property and to seek safety, health, and happiness in all lawful ways, while acknowledging that these rights come with corresponding responsibilities Public comment considered by the county commissioners included concerns regarding the following. Potential sounds like pollution, flicker, shadow, vibration, wake, electromagnetic, electrical and radio frequency interference and noise. Turbine heights and fire suppression, view shed to preserve the view shed and its value. Cost of decommissioning that may be the responsibility of the county or the federal government. Truck traffic during construction on our roads. Who would be responsible for maintenance, upkeep, and concerns about speed limits, safety, and dust control. Sufficient setbacks from turbines for residential and non-participating landowners as well as shallow water wells and county roads. Concerns about using adjacent landowners and wind rights. Ability to control predators, control by aerial hunting, and the cost of alternative predator control, other aerial pest control. The potential negative effects to sharp-tailed grouse licks. The wind farms would bring in money for maintaining infrastructure, providing new jobs, and may increase the tax revenue for the county. Protecting view shed becomes complicated as the county has no jurisdiction over state, federal lands with checkerboard ownership. County's inability to reduce taxes and still provide service in the future without an increased tax base. Projected impact fees are estimated to be 0.05% of estimated cost of the project for each year for three years and can be used for any governmental purpose. The administrative and enforcement costs of proposed districts and regulations. Regarding tax abatement versus no tax abatement, which benefits the county most? Commission voted to deny tax abatements to the project at a public meeting in 2025. These next concerns, comments are ones that they're down version. They're a short version of those long ones that Helen read. Communications, and these are the changes that you would find from the website. Communications infrastructure contractors association expressed concern that height caps or extreme multi-mile setbacks would make it nearly impossible to build infrastructure or communities need public safety, healthcare, education, agricultural, and business fairness and investment. Also ensure approval timelines meet federal standards. This is the CTIA expressed concern that height and setback construction for covering capacity require more tilers. They also emphasize that the county must adhere to federal law sections 49 to code provisions and modifications with time constraints. Ellen Claus Anderson with Valencia Law Firm in Missouri wrote to the best home to prevent turbines negatively impact surrounding property values. Great Northern Development Corporation expressed concern about long-term economic considerations. You mentioned the taxes and fees that could benefit Macomb County and local schools. Legal issues raised by the public and considered by the county commissioners included section of property rights for participating landowners who have signed contracts for the development. This property is located within the proposed zoning district, and who did not sign the petition for the R1 zoning. Developed the property in a manner which was lawful at the time. Their contracts were executed and publicly reported several years previous. That the proposed zoning district, if established as is, might prevent construction. State and federal lands within the proposed district are exempt from complying with zoning regulations. Concerns regarding decommissioning bonding, which is under the jurisdiction of the state of Montana. The school trust lands requirement to bring in the maximum tax revenue supports that Macomb County might be liable for the enactment or enforcement of any regulations should the county adopt the zoning regulations as written and presented by petitioners. Whereas Montana Code annotated section 76-2-110 entitled Appeal Procedure provides as follows. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the commission or the board of the county commissioners may, within 30 days after such decision or order, appeal to the district court in the county in which the property involved is located. Now therefore be it resolved, Macomb County Commissioners does hereby accept clerk and reporter certifications to be determined percent of the affected property owners having signed the petition. Adopts the foregoing facts, findings of fact, and based on said findings of fact, determine that the concerns of the opponents to the creation of the district do dictate that the creation of the district is not in the public interest or convenience, and does hereby deny the creation of the code on Antelope Park planning and zoning district. Thanks. Oh, I don't regret that the last time.
Would everybody agree that we wouldn't have to read the whereas for the ones that are exactly the same, creating the district, that long laundry list, it's like a page long? Or do you want to hear them all read again in context with the next resolution?
I agree.
And skip the around. And anybody wants a copy, we can get you a copy. We're gonna get it back online once I make another couple corrections. But so the. Oh, go ahead.
While you're making correction, there are clause about the Montana creating the most revenue that they can. The state of Montana has not approved the putting of towers on state land. I think that one correcting that, taking it over. It does not apply. It's not put the tower on state land as of yet.
It's not bound by the zoning.
Pardon me.
The state isn't bound by the zoning
The
anything.
state is not bound by the zoning, but they have not approved towers on
Correct.
state land. Our president has put in a moratorium on towers on federal lands.
I'll look for that one.
You could read the whereas.
So you want me to skip over all the whereases?
Well, no, read it from the top to the whereas until you get the where it says creating the district. Is when it starts saying creating the district on the first page, see where that is? So the finding of facts is doing that's not gonna right, read until the whereas that has the finding of facts. So we do like the first, this one's the creating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Read the first 5 whereases, then skip the finding of facts and go on.
Okay. Okay, this is the resolution by the Macomb County Commission creating the Macomb Mountain Antelope Park planning and zoning district. Whereas on November 10, 2025, the petition was filed with the Macomb County Clerk and Recorder by affected real property owners of property within the area described in the petition and attached maps to create a planning and zoning district pursuant to Title 76. Chapter 2, Part 1, Montana Code annotated. And whereas Macomb County Clerk and Recorder certified to be determined date 2026. That pursuant to MCA section 76-2 -101-1 be determined percent of the affected real property owners within the proposed district have signed petitions requesting creation of citizen initiated zoning district that consists of more than 40 acres. Whereas on February 23rd, 2026, the Macomb County Commission held a public hearing to consider the creation of the citizen initiated zoning district. Whereas notice of the public hearing was provided in accordance with state law, stating the written provided to the Macomb County Commission, and that oral comments would be taken at said public hearing. Whereas at public hearing, citizens of Macomb County and residents of the proposed citizen initiated zoning district vote or submitted a response in favor and in opposition to creating the district. Why creating the district was or was not in the public interest. Whereas the Macomb County Commissioner, after reviewing the comments and considering comments provided at the public hearing, make the following finding.
So the finding of facts are the same, so just go on to them. So that after you skip it the whole page and then have to pick up on the next whereas. Because everything is the same. That whole next page is all the same, and what was read.
Yep.
Yeah, public comments all the same. Legal issues, other than I took out the school, like press line, I didn't find that one. So the next, after that, the next whereas, so it's on page 3. Whereas real property owners.
Whereas real property owners in a zoning district may petition the Board of County Commissioners to submit a referendum to the registered elector residing in the zoning district to terminate the zoning district. Petition must be in writing and contain the signatures and addresses of 20% or more of the real property owners in the zoning district. Petition requesting a referendum for the termination of the zoning district must be delivered to county clerk and recorder, who shall endorse it on a date when the petition was received and validate the signatures within 60 days of receipt of the petition. If the petition contains valid signatures of at least 20% of the real property owners within the zoning district, the county clerk and recorder shall notify the county commissioners. Now therefore be it resolved that the Macomb County Commission does hereby accept the clerk and recorder's certification of percent to be determined percent of the affected property owners having signed the position, adopts the foregoing findings of facts, and based on said findings of fact, determine that creating the district will allow for reasonable and lawful regulation of adjacent land uses so as to protect adjoining landowners, that issues raised by the opponents of the creation of the district dictate that the creation of the district is in the public interest and does hereby create the Macomb Mount Antelope Park Planning and Zoning District, which is depicted in the map attached here to as Exhibit A and incorporated by this reference. Be it further resolved that a definitive legal description may be developed and included in any subsequently adopted zoning regulations applicable to the county commissioners by separate action shall establish a zoning commission for citizens residing within the district or interested in serving on the zoning commission for said district, and shall empanel a zoning commission in accordance with MCA 76-2-102.
Do we have any other comments? Anything?
Safety has been brought up, on this. In that zoning policy, anything that has to do with that is exempt. And another thing that they're brought up too, was Bob oil and gas, that how this could affect that. If this would have any effect on the pipeline, like they were saying, the Oil and Gas Commission would be in here today too.
false percent, and so that there's no effect that this has on oil and gas.
I was at. I don't know the lady's name, but she gave during the comment period on the zoning that was proposed in Curry County. She was a realtor, with Montana. And, she had just the opposite to say about property values as to what we were presented with today. That the property values would definitely go down with wind turbines. So, I could maybe find her name and her testimony. It would help because it'd be on record at that meeting. But
Well, we appreciate your input. We're not trying to balance any kind of scales. All we're doing is taking public comment. So you've entered that into record that property values are going down. So that's the important part here is just we want everybody's input on it. Comments, complaints, whatever. So
I would question the validity of a couple of the emails having to do with towers. What does that have to do with our type 1 zoning?
Right.
As far as the wind.
Again, we're not trying to weigh anything. I mean, somebody could have said, I don't like elephants.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why does that have to be in the resolution?
What
Is that
does
what
that
you're-
Well, that's kind of what my question.
it's just because it's public comment.
So it could say, why, okay, we don't want pink elephants on the divide.
I guess
So,
if somebody
you know,
wants
so
to.
it doesn't need to be in there if I made a comment.
And even like Great Northern Development, I guess I'm surprised that they would have made a comment. I mean, obviously, I've worked with them a lot with the hospital and stuff. I guess what does the Great Northern Development comment have to do with? But I could see it in that, if we get to the point of type 2 maybe, but. I don't know.
Yeah, they're just going on record, they look at the economic aspect. That's their viewpoint and that's.
So all of our comments are gonna be on record too then? Basically.
We can't, we're trying to capture as much as we can, but no, we're not doing word for word. We're not capturing everything.
So. Okay. Why would those letters, those long letters that you read have precedent over what we have said to be included in the resolution?
They don't have precedent. They just got.
But they're included, but why
Yeah.
are they added in? Instead of comments from constituents rather than comments from,
Well, I also have 2 pages of
okay,
handwritten notes, and I'm gonna try, but I don't want to keep saying, I don't want 37 names that I support. Well, we're
correct, but I'm trying to get to the point of why are they included in the resolution when they were not previously included in the resolution?
because it was information that came forward after we did the draft.
So they get more precedent than your constituents, so their comments are placed in your resolution.
Well, the comments here today, I mean, these are the well, I got 2 pages, but. So I have these here that I can also put into the resolution. The ones that were sent to me by typing or by email, I had before. So I didn't have these to put into the resolution until we just had it. The other ones I got for the meet.
Are there, in the comments, public comments that we've covered here, are there ones we're thinking should be covered that are not?
I'm just saying that it appears as though you have given higher precedent to lawyers and representatives of Next Era by putting their comments in a resolution. I don't think any of it needs to be put in resolution.
That was my comment.
Yeah, nobody's comment need to be put in the resolution.
That's
That's-
the point. Nobody's comments. need to be
Nobody's
put in the
comments.
resolution.
I got all the facts and all the comments.
No,
Just take out the
You had-
emails from them.
you had a previous resolution that you were working on, and we had agreed that you were comfortable with what you had done with that. And so by sticking with that resolution, that would be fine rather than having, because there weren't comments on that one. Put in.
No, because we didn't have, people didn't have the ability to comment
Right,
until they're here.
but it's an appropriate resolution. Taking out the legal identity. So with that,
Right, and that part was taken out. That's not it.
right. That
Right.
proved that as what we had agreed with. And so I just, to me, it's like wired, putting any public comments into your resolution.
I thought that was the intention to have a public meeting. Was, yeah, as my public comments.
So
Yeah,
what she's saying, are you gonna rewrite all these resolutions and put every comment in?
no, what, I took notes,
Yeah.
So I-
What are you gonna do with those notes?
that's what I'll get to. So I wrote these notes and now I can go into the resolution and go, okay. Interference. Is it covered, not covered? So all the different things I have written down here, I'm gonna see if it is covered in the resolution. That's my intent.
No, but you put their letters in the resolution.
Right, and if you had given me your comments that you spoke. Either over the weekend or this morning, I would have had it in there, but I didn't have the opportunity until just now, so I won't have the opportunity to put it in until either tonight or tomorrow.
But it will be in the resolution, all the comments.
I'm gonna try and get as much of this in if it's not already covered. But I'm not gonna put, when it's saying the same thing over and over again, I'm not gonna put it in like 5 times. I just want to cover, because it's health, safety, I'm not sure historic use is in there, but health, safety, preservation. I'm pretty sure that's in there. Somebody had good neighbor practices. I'm not sure that's in here. So I'm gonna go for all my chicken scratch and go through and see from the public comments what is not in the resolution and add it in.
Fair. If you include what your constituents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why, and these guys were noting stuff too. But, because part of it is,
It just appeared as
it's just because they emailed me something when I had time to put it in.
Okay.
So it wasn't an intention. That's only highlighted because it was, like I said, if I was gonna make a change, I wanted to highlight it so you can see the change. It will not be highlighted.
okay, that's fair.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In light of the fact that there will not be a vote today, will written comments still be accepted until next week?
Written comments accepted, yes. Can I guarantee it's gonna be in the resolution? No. We're willing to consider it, and we're willing to consider it in a public meeting, but if I don't finalize the resolution at some point, I literally could have a computer up here and go, okay, let me change that. But anybody, our emails are out there, please email me something. But I'm not guaranteeing I'm gonna change the resolution unless it's something earth-shattering. Some
It
kind
seemed to me that there was an awful lot of written comments presented by entities that had no vested interest in what's going on. They're third-party solicited information solicited by Xterra or whomever to their benefit. But the written comments that were submitted were by people who had real no vested interest in the county. They're not property owners, nor are they taxpayers. So why are they being allowed to be included in the resolution?
because our intent was to have public comment.
Okay.
That's public comment is public comment. And it's, if you want to look at it, the scale of it, I think I added four comments from there, and then the rest of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The vast majority are what people in this area or around this area or from type 1. And, yeah, I think 5% of the public comments are in there. I guess I don't understand what hurts by having additional comments. It's not intentional, trying to cut somebody else out. Yeah, email. It's just that I don't know when I can get to. I've got a meeting tomorrow. I got a meeting Thursday. And I'll work on it, but if you could send an email, if you want something in there, I guess I would ask you to send it tonight. And then if I'm in tomorrow, I can try and add it in tomorrow. Okay. Yes.
You have the resolution, obviously been online, agreed it and could comment. Why do the comments need to be a part of the resolution? Can't you have your resolution? And if you want to publish the comments out of it, that it should be a separate part of it.
So you take
your resolution.
Take out all the findings and facts then and just as a resolution.
Have the comments. You should, do you want to let the comments change your resolution that you already presented and have people that they comment?
The only change to the resolution was adding some additional comments. That's the only change. It didn't change the title, didn't change the intent, didn't change anything. It's just, there's some more information. Yeah, sure.
I guess this is public comment. I have a letter on my desk from Mr. Brown, our local conductor, and it says wind towers would be a detriment.
I think you address real estate values. Yeah, I mean, keep sending stuff in. We're gonna have a folder and everything. At some point, I gotta cut. You know, this is when we're gonna add stuff in resolution. So I'm asking you to send it tonight. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it later in the week. Like I said, I've got some kind of meeting that's at noon tomorrow. I got that, and then I have to go to Glasgow on Thursday, and I mean, I'm trying to get stuff done, but evidently I have stuff at home I'm supposed to do too. Yeah, I was kind of surprised too. So I'm not trying to play this off, I swear. I just, the vast majority, 95% or more, is what local people have said. And this is just, because ultimately it comes down to, this is type 1 zoning. Type 1 zoning is the whatever, landowners into type 1. We appreciate everybody's opinion. But the votes that matter are the folks inside the type 1. According to Montana Code Annotated.
The comments included in your resolution should.
There's nothing that says that. So then we would have to start, I'd have to go back through. And if it's not somebody in a type 1, I gotta start taking everything out that somebody in type 1 did not say. I didn't track it because I've had conversations with people. And some of that is, because somebody had a conversation with me about, oh shoot, I'm gonna have it wrong, but birth defects in horses.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who told me that. But
All right.
so things like that.
I guess doesn't make sense to have all those comments in there. In addition to your.
Well, and it's no matter what, it's not gonna be all encompassing. I mean, it's
industry.
Yeah, and we didn't solicit from anybody. We just announced it. And people, because some landowners have said, yeah, but some landowners have said, I don't agree with this. One I know is Macomb County resident. And he's not in the zone, but I read his comment. I mean, so everybody's opinion is important to me, but just try to cover everything.
Well, I'd like to say I don't envy you guys' position at all.
Registrations for positions are open right now. You have until before.
I'm smarter than that.
How I walked into that. Well played, sir. Well played. Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Because at this point, we're gonna go downstairs. and try and do some stuff in our office. If we owe you something, or you want us to owe you something, I would ask that you email me. If you want your comments in here, please email me. Try and do it tonight. If it's something you need today, then let's go make a line in our office. And we'll be here until,
Or yeah, set it aside, no.
I mean, I think we're gonna shoot for 2 o'clock next Monday with the intent of voting on this, but.
Monday, you said Tuesday earlier.
Can I say Tuesday before? Monday. One day. Yeah, Monday.
I also have. And also have.
Good, money for granted.
So next 2 weeks.
And
Yes, you said it.
and this went over.
So this, yeah, she just sort of knows something that they.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good evening.
I better shut this off. Greg's awful close to it. I know some of the type of comments that he makes. We're here.